Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of CEO and Market Expert Interviews. I'm your host, Lucian. Some of you know me as Triangle Investor from social medias. Today's guest is Per Jander, Director at WMC, which is also Technical Advisor to Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. Thank you very much for joining us today, Per.
Hi, Lucian. Nice to be back again. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, buddy. Let's start maybe with the spot price. We are seeing a correction in the price. As we are recording this interview, the price is around 77, 77 and a half, something like that, coming down from the mid 80s. What is currently going on with the spot market?
Yeah, that is a good question, and I wish I had a great answer for you. But we had just over the last week, we've just seen a bunch of traders all pile in at once, all selling. Now there's been speculation on is it end of year numbers because all of them are asking for December delivery. There is no January delivery. So that kind of leads us to believe that it has something to do with year end numbers, but it's also been considering how little volume that has traded over the last couple of months to see over £1 million trade in a few days. It's a little more than we expected, and it's quite simply hasn't been enough on the buy side to keep the price up. So there's been drifting down. Yeah, as far as fundamentals goes, I can't see any difference why or nothing is different from what it was before. But whoever is buying here, I quite frankly, I think get a good deal. But there are still offers out there at 77.50, so not everything has cleared. But my personal view is we should start to see the end of it right now, and there's only so much time you can get before you can place sales before the end of the year anyway. So it's been a bit of a head scratcher, but at the same time there's been also fairly substantial volumes. So it's a simple matter of supply and demand. There's a bunch of people selling, one in particular buying, and yeah, good for them. They bought up almost £1 million at what I think are very attractive prices. So that's where we sit.
Yeah, definitely. So the volumes are low. That speaks a lot for the story. At the beginning of the year, we had different circumstances where you couldn't buy bigger quantities of uranium without moving the price rapidly. Is that still the case? Let's say if you want to buy a bigger quantity of uranium on the spot, is that even possible? And are the supply demand dynamics change on spot?
Yeah, because it's so thinly traded, it doesn't take a lot to shift. Now, if I came out and said I need to buy £1 billion or £1 million, every single trader would just run for the hill, and the market would jump up $5. Like it's really that simple. Now, what's happening when so much material has cleared over the last week, and again, like one trader has picked up almost £1 million. And it's because the offers are coming to them. So they're not out there loudly saying that, well, we want to buy £1 million. They basically just take whatever offers are there. So if you do it in a passive way, clearly you could pick up £1 million. But if someone actively came out and started looking for it, the traders who are offering would just back up. So yeah, it's a fickle market, and there are some traders have incentive for selling right now. I can't say I don't see their books. I know they're not stupid, so either they're doing it because they have to clear the material, or they can also have contracts being priced, so they have a vested interest in seeing the price lower.
Yeah, but you would say the traders are running the show right now.
100%.
Okay, okay. How are we looking with the term market? What are the current year-to-date contracted numbers, if you can tell me?
Yeah, if you look at the numbers, I mean, UX is the one that's like it was a lot lower than it had been before around September, and then there was the large Kazatomprom Chinese deal that came in, and you start to see some volumes of that, but it's so opaque, and I really wouldn't. There's a lot of activity. I haven't been that busy buying for spot lately, so then I obviously focus on the utility side of things, and there's a lot to do. There's 4 or 5 active tenders right now. There's another 4 or 5 about around the corner. Now they're not necessarily 8, 9 million pounds each, and some of them are for further out in the 30s. Some of them are for more near or midterm. But overall, I think it's a fairly active market. That said, clearly most of the focus is on conversion and enrichment at this time. But nevertheless, I mean, it's yeah, it is quite busy, and I think a lot of the volumes that are being contracted for simply don't show up because it could be a contract extension or whatever it might be. I mean, if you're an EDF and you sit down with Orano or Cameco, you might not do it every year, but if you agree on something, you're not going to come out with a big tender. You know you're going to contract with them. You sit down, you agree on something, and it's not necessarily that all the details of that contract are being reported right away. Might they be towards the end of the year? They might be that they have a chat with one of the price reporters and said, "Oh yeah, we did a bunch of these blended extend with some of our core clients, and this adds to this much." Or it might not even show up at all. So that's why it's a little misleading to just stare yourself blind at whatever numbers are being published by UX and Trade Tech. So it's yeah, overall, yeah, I would say there hasn't been as much contracting as possibly would have been expected. But I think it's because the Russia ban got very real all of a sudden. First of all, with the US side of things, and then the reciprocal actions from Russia. So clearly the focus is going to be on enrichment and conversion, and that we've also seen that reflected in the prices, right? I mean, conversion was published last night and it's up $12, so from
Yeah.
75 to 87. So that shows you where some of the action is.
Agreed. Price reporting is voluntary. We know that. Is there any initiative to change that and bring more transparency to the market?
There's been some initiatives, I guess, but it's also like it's not a regulated market, so you can't force people to do it. And yeah, that's if you're a really big player, do you really want transparency? You can argue that it actually serves your best interest to not report everything because if you say that, oh, we just contracted for a lot of our volumes, everybody knows that. So it's yeah, I understand it can be frustrating from the outside, but I've been on the side of the large players, and there are certainly pros and cons for both sides. As far as spot goes, we do what we can. We report every single transaction, but it's a small fraction of the spot market, and that's it.
Yeah, spot is a different story. It's transparent 100%. Per ceilings and floors prices in the most recently signed contracts, what are you hearing and seeing? What ranges are we talking here?
I actually haven't heard Chemical's latest calls. I probably should listen to it. That's normally where you get it because thankfully, at least Chemical tends to at least indicate where the levels are. Last I heard was floors in the high 70s and ceilings in the 130s, but that was still a couple of months ago. So I would certainly not have expected it to go down. And yeah, that nothing in the term is no term like I would say, or on the terms of the term market, and none of that is coming down anyway. It's as far as the base escalated prices goes, there's simply not enough price points to have a big impact on that. And as far as the floors and ceilings go, it depends on who you are, but I would say Cameco is certainly not getting any lower terms now than they did a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Do you maybe know over what period did the NU fund sell their inventory into the spot market and how much did they sell?
It is a lot of rumors around that, and there is nothing is clear on it. We're hearing that it's been settled, not necessarily delivered yet. And I think the requirement was that they wanted it to go to utilities. But again, I mean, if you're a big trader, you have a portfolio of utility contracts, you can still take delivery of that material and funnel it to your utility contracts, and that frees up some material that you can dump into the spot market anyway. So I'm not saying that is what's happening, but hypothetically, if there was a pricing period right now, which I think it would be, then as a trader, you might have a vested interest in seeing a softer price. Complete speculation. I don't know if that is the case or not, but it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibilities. That's what we're currently seeing. But again, I don't want to speculate too much, but clearly it's a small market and it is acting weirdly right now.
Yeah. How are we looking for 2025? What are you are in the industry and you are surrounded by the people that are on all levels of the uranium industry. How are you and those people see 2025 on the uranium term market and spot?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I'm surprised a little bit how this year. Now, clearly, there was a year ago now we were in the middle of a tear, and the market was just going up every day. Good news out of COP, and then it was hints of the U.S. sanctions about yeah, just under a year ago, so early December. So clearly it went up very quickly to about $107, and then for it to come down a little bit, I don't think that's necessarily unusual. Um, the lack of transactions that we have seen this year, and especially now where you see the push below 80, it doesn't feel natural. So again, like, can it drop another buck or so? Yeah, possibly, but I don't see this being it's not going to last very long. I think quite clearly the market will come around. Term prices are not going down. Nothing in the term market is going down. At these levels, you can make a carry trade work. It's just a matter of time. You know, if a utility comes out and says, "Hey, I'm issuing a tender. Offers are valid, like required a month from today. Then we need a month to evaluate, and then we're gonna make a decision." It's still a 2 month process. So even if it is a very amenable environment for a carry trade, you can't make it happen on one day. So for RFPs that are active right now, we certainly make a try for it, but unless you have a balance sheet and soak up the pounds yourself and then just hold them on speculation that you're going to be able to place them, we certainly don't have the balance sheet for that, so we're not going to do it. There are maybe some entities that can, but I also don't know if they want to take the risk on it. But from a your financials perspective, if you look at the carry trade at these terms, you can make it work, especially considering if you're a utility, you put a premium on the certainty of supply, because you know that that material is already out of the ground. There's no mining risk. There's no transport risk. As a utility, you will pay a little bit of extra for that. So if it stays at these levels, it definitely will be some carry trades coming to the market. It's just a matter of timing.
Yeah, you mentioned RFPs. Do you know how many RFPs are out and how big are they actually?
Yeah, to add them up, it could be also a little misleading because it depends on where they are. But yeah, there's about 4 or 5 active right now, and yeah, I would say they're over 10 million pounds. But again, all you need is the Koreans come out for 8 9 million pounds, and they've changed the style a little bit, and are a little bit more bilateral in the discussion. Otherwise, they used to be very, very public, but they kind of moved away from that because they realized they didn't really serve their purpose right now. And especially we saw it last year where they had to reissue because they're pretty firm about the boundaries they can be within, and the market just kept moving away from them. So they had to cancel and reissue their tender 3 times before they actually got anything. So they changed their attitude a little bit, which also means that one of the most public processes are no longer that public. So it's just a change. But it is a sign of the market that it is tight. The term market is extremely tight. Cameco and Kazatomprom will both tell you they're sold out in the near term. So it's now we would say 28 onwards. That's where it's a healthy market where you see a lot of tenders. Anyone who needs material before that, yeah, you're gonna have to rely on traders, or potentially you can go to the big suppliers. They're just gonna have to go into the market and buy it.
Yeah, what about conversion? Any news regarding the Western conversion capacity will be built out when?
Yeah, there hasn't been any public announcements yet. Like I said, I mean, spot price is 37, which is nothing short of ridiculous. We just had a conversation with the price reporter yesterday, and they seriously asked us, "Do you think it'd go to triple digits?" And we all kind of agreed that we see no reason why it shouldn't, because again, like you're not gonna you're not gonna stop buying fuel because conversion reaches $100. Can you find it? I think you can. It won't be so that it will cost you not to be able to run your plants or find your fuel, but it goes to show how tight that market is. And so if you're a fuel buyer, you want to make sure you have your conversion first, and then you can focus on uranium after that.
Yeah, Per, what is the realistic incentive price of uranium today? There are a lot of fuss about it. I know it depends on the jurisdiction and other factors, but my main question, does the incentive price follows the challenges in the industry, inflation and other metrics? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's not so much what the incentive price is, because it's a matter of timing. Like we need yeah, we need a lot of good mines to come online, and not only brownfields restarts, they are restarting at these levels. So clearly, a brownfield can make money at these levels. But if you're even if you're looking at the biggest project around the corner, which is next gen, the Rook One, they're gonna supposedly be online 28. They're saying up 29, somewhere around this time frame. But even with that online, with the 30 million pounds on, you're still going to have a shortage in 2030. So there's going to be something else than that. So the incentive pricing, I'd say it's well into the triple digits, but it's more of a matter of can you get it online in time?
Exactly. Chinese. That's a very interesting topic for me. Are the Chinese playing a better chess game than the Western utilities in securing the long-term supply?
In a chess game, I mean, the difference with the Chinese that their program is expanding so rapidly that and they don't have any domestic uranium, so they clearly need to make sure that they have enough storage or enough inventory capacity to run their plant and their program for some time, and also expand it at the same time. So yeah, they're neighboring with Kazakhstan. They're buying half of the Kazakh material right now. They've indicated that they can certainly take more. I think it was the large agreement that we just saw about a month or so, a few weeks ago, indicates no difference. And I think in just reading between the lines in the comments from Kazatomprom, whereas say a few years ago the Kazakhs, they were very Western friendly with their contracting and very open, and I would say they almost had to agree to lower terms than Cameco, for example, because of the added logistics challenges and jurisdiction and everything else. So they would meet the terms of the utilities. I think the shift we've seen this year is that the Kazakhs are, yeah, they're selling half of it to the production to the Chinese. They're selling a good chunk of the material to Russia, and I don't think that's going to change because the Russians need the U308 feed. The difference is the remainder, and whereas the Kazakhs, in a very nice way, and they're still very Western friendly, they're just saying that we're not going to meet your terms anymore because we can sell our uranium at market terms to the Chinese, and they will happily take it. So if you want any of our material, you're going to have to meet our terms. And I think they've done a very good job in communicating that. So it's I think it's obvious. They're saying it without saying it, and they're doing it in a very nice way. But and it is the reality. Like the Kazakh supply of uranium, I think the Chinese and the Russians they will be able to take all of it if they wanted to. But from the Kazakhs' perspective, yeah, of course you want to diversify and have a little bit of Western demand meet that, take some of that too, but not at any terms.
Yeah, Per, final question. Orano, what do you think their next move is? We know what happened in Niger. How will they position themselves? They are searching projects in Canada. That's the speculation. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a tough situation, right? I don't think. I mean, Orano, from what it looks like right now, clearly you can't bank on Niger. I know they're not completely given up on it, but it's a standoff and it's a tough one too. I mean, Orano has 60%. They want that material. At the same time, I think Niger, if you look at the proportion of income for the state, it's a pretty hefty chunk. Like those 40% uranium, if that income is not coming, I mean, it's gonna start hurting Niger at some point, and I think that's what we're seeing play out. So the French are good negotiators. I'm sure they're on top of it there, but at the same time, it's yeah, hope is not a strategy. So you got to come up with some other plans. That we've heard that they're looking into Central Asia, but we haven't seen any announcements yet. Canada is the obvious jurisdiction, obviously, but yeah, there are no to me there are no, I would say, obvious choices for them anyway. So it's well, we'll have to see what I haven't heard of any announcements. I don't want to speculate too much either, but it's they got to come up with something. They indicated obviously the presence in North America with the Oak Ridge enrichment facility, so they're clearly indicating that we're gonna be a presence in the U.S. and in North America, and I think it's the absolute route to take.
Per, I wanted to thank you for coming to my show. Great chat, a lot of great information from you as always. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Lucian. Anytime.